The haters always say, Tanya, tell the truth. Tanya. There's no such thing as truth. Everyone has their own truth.
So you star in this and produce it. So what was it about this story that was really compelling and you wanted to tell?
It was a female-driven story, and it felt very original and unique, and I tend to gravitate towards scripts that are a little less conventional, a little less formulaic in their structure, and this one seemed to break every single rule that a script normally abides by as far as structure goes, and the characters were just incredible and fascinating to me, and I didn't, when I read it, know at the time that they were real-life people.
Oh, really? So you didn't follow the story when it was happening?
I was 4 years old.
Oh, yeah.
And so I missed it completely. And yeah, I thought the whole thing was fiction when I read it. I was mind-boggled to find out that it was not only true, but that every single little detail that Stephen had kind of hit on in the script also really happened. It was fascinating.
So I heard that you actually wanted to be a figure skater.
I did. It was my first dream. Even before wanting to be an actor, I wanted to be a figure skater, and I put in a lot of time into that effort, and soon realized that it's really an acrobatic sport, and I'm 6 feet tall, and it's just impossible to do. I did think I did 2 double jumps, and that was it. And then I had an accident and couldn't skate anymore, so I was like, all right, and life took me down another path. But I was very much aware into this world of figure skating, and always watch the figure skating when it comes on at the Olympics. And so when this happened, when this real Tanya Harding, Nancy Kerrigan story happened, it was just shocking, the most shocking thing any of us. It was huge when it happened.
Yeah.
Unbelievably shocking.
So this is a really difficult role. You got somebody who's abusive but also sympathetic. So how did you approach this acting-wise?
Well, it was different than anything I've ever done because I never played a real person before, and there was, I had limited freedom in terms of kind of creating a character as much as I had to sort of mold to something that already existed. And he was difficult in the sense that everything I could find on him was negative. It was a lot of really terrible sort of press, that had come out about him. And I had to play him when he was young, and I had to play him when he was now, I think, 50 years old. And I couldn't find anything on that. So I ended up meeting with him, which was helpful. But it was a mix of a lot of technical stuff, like really just trying to, capture his physicality and his voice and all that, and then also try to figure out why, even though he denies it, why anyone potentially would behave the way that he did.
And so you actually met Tanya, right? Did you meet her before you did the role?
Right before we started shooting, but I'd already done all my character prep and decided exactly how I was going to play the character before meeting her. I wanted to keep Tanya the character and Tanya the real life person separate in my mind, so I needed to do all my character prep before meeting her. And when I met her, it was just as a person, really. It wasn't research. I'd already done that.
But did that affect you at all?
It affected me. It didn't affect the way I played the character. I decided how I was going to play the character, and that wasn't altered after I met her. But it affected me as a person, as a human, watching this woman start as a child and lead up until now. I mean, I felt like I'd really gone on this emotional journey with her, and I hadn't found any resolution at the end. But then when I met her and saw her talk about her husband and her son, and to kind of see that she'd found peace in her life and solace in knowing that she'd become the mother she never had, that was greatly satisfying for me. And I was really, really grateful that I got to see that side of her.
LaVon she's a rough woman to get a hold of. So how did you approach her?
Yeah, we couldn't, Tanya didn't know where she was, or she was alive or dead, nor did she care. So I let that go. I didn't have a lot of time when this all came together pretty fast for me, and so I just stuck to the script. And Stephen Rogers, who's my friend who wrote this part for me, the script was pretty brilliant, and it's all there on the page, and then I just had to fill it in with. I watched the documentary about Tanya, and there's some interviews with LaVon Harding where you actually see the look that she sports with the fur coat and the bird and everything. It's like, that's real. We didn't make that up. That's truth is stranger than fiction sometimes, and it was such an extraordinary look that I got to put on, and it was fascinating studying the interviews with her and just trying to fill her up and try to find out what made her so awful. And by the way, she doesn't think she's awful. And when you play someone like that, you have to remember, I can't judge who she is. I just have to get in her skin and understand what she wants and what her intentions are. And I think she wanted her daughter to have a better life and wanted her daughter to succeed and wanted them to have a better life. And those things are all good, but her methods are a little mad.
And did speaking to him and doing this research change your opinions on him?
You know, at the time I was, yes and no. Yes and no. I mean, it's hard for me to say because at that point I was opening up my world. I had to open up my world to him in order to play him. You know, I had to like leave my judgments outside, and I had to try to like give him a chance. So I was looking for something to hook onto, and I think there were two things about him that I felt I took away. One was that I think he really did love her, and that he obviously felt terrible regret and remorse for being responsible for ruining her career, to quote him. And you start from there, you know, and you kind of build from there and just try to, you know, piece together what the facts. And the facts are that, you know, that's what she says he was like.
So, and the skating in this is mind-boggling. So, and I follow Olympics pretty closely, so I watch it a lot. So what was the training process like?
It was extensive. I had an amazing, we had an amazing skate choreographer. Her name's Sarah Kawahara, and she actually choreographed Nancy Kerrigan back in the day. So she's been around. She lived through all that as well. She understands the ice skating world, the figure skating world, inside and out. And she was stuck with me, but very patient with me. And we just did. It was just time. It was just putting in the hours. We did months and months of training.
So from what I've seen, it looks like you do most of the skating.
I do a lot of it. Anything truly impressive was not me. That was skate doubles. Even if I had 10 years to train, I couldn't do, you know, double axels or triple toes or any of that stuff. So we had skate doubles for all the amazing moves, and I was everything in between.
So you followed it, I followed it. We all, I'm sure, had a very strong perception of who Tanya was. Did this change anything for you?
For when I doing the movie, did it change anything for me? Well, yeah. Well, I mean, reading the movie and it totally changed my idea of who Tanya was. I mean, when this story came out, I think I was more of a Nancy Kerrigan girl, and now working on this movie, I realized actually I'm more of a Tanya than I am a Nancy, and yeah, she was a scrappy girl. Wouldn't you know? Didn't think she should have to fit into the way the figure skating world thought she should be, and she knew she was good, and she was strong-headed and wrong-minded, and all those wonderful things that I appreciate now about people, you know, who don't try to fit in, who want to stand, you know, on their own merits, their own talents, and they should be appreciated for them. And I so totally respect her now. Well, I have a totally different opinion about her than I did.
Me too, actually.
Yeah, don't you? Yeah.
Totally.
I have a lot more empathy for her, and like, yeah. And she still is one of the only women in the world who's done a triple axel. You know?
That's painful when you fall from it.
Have you done that?
I've done a double. I've never done a triple.
You did a double axel?
Once. I was very small.
Girl, respect. I did the axel, a double sow cow, and a double flip. Those were my jumps.
That's impressive.
That's pretty good.
Did you ever actually attempt to get on the ice?
No. I'm so glad I did not have to.
I'm just always curious because everyone's around it, and
No, it was cold, and that was good. But
So what do you think this says about the media? Because that's the thing that really struck me watching it, about what the media can do to people.
well, the media, you know, it creates this wall. You know, I think like there's a wall there that gets created, especially with celebrity, in the sense that it's almost like target practice. You know, it's like that mentality of going to the zoo, you know, and watching something that's on the other end, and kind of sometimes subconsciously forgetting that it's still people. And I think that, especially in the 90s when the media, 24-hour news and all that stuff was just kind of coming up in a really heavy way, it was a time where a lot of these people lives were ruined by it, and I think we just need to kind of just know that there's probably many pieces to the story than we always get.
And before we wrap, I do have to ask you about Harley Quinn, because that's another really kick-ass female character.
Yeah.
So what is it about her that draws you?
To Harley?
Yeah.
I just love how unpredictable she is. It is kind of like Tanya, where I feel like Tanya can say anything in the moment. She's doesn't feel calculated when she speaks, out of all the interviews I've watched of her. And Harley's the same. I feel like in any scene, Harley can do anything. And as an actor, that's thrilling to know that you have so many options, that the sky's your limit.
America, they want someone to love, but they want someone to hate.
I mean, come on! What kind of friggin' person bashes in their friend's knee? Who would do that to a friend?